if somebody is going to get sick physically in the physical body, the symptoms of that sickness will start appearing in the second body, in the prana body or the etheric body, a few months before. You must have seen some instances where a person says, I have pain in my heart and discomfort. He goes, sees a doctor. The doctor does an ECG, says all clear. But he goes again 2 months later, same thing. And 6 months later, he goes and the doctor says, yes, there is a problem. So it manifests in the etheric body or the prana body a few months before. So you have time to take action to change that. Welcome back, Ali. It was great to have you on the first podcast. And as you're aware, there's lots of people who have loved that podcast and commented upon it. So thinking that, it was liked by so many people, why not do it a few more times? So welcome back to the second episode of the podcast.
No, it's a pleasure to be back. I saw the numbers and I was super impressed, and I think, like I was saying earlier in the beginning of the first podcast, that a lot of people must be having these questions, especially when it comes to the specifics. So thanks for answering those. I have a whole bunch of new ones for you. I wanted to start with actually one that I've asked you personally a lot of questions on, and it has to do with the Koshas, the 5 bodies.
Yeah.
What are the 5 bodies in yoga?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, like in the first podcast and the second one also, we'll keep things at a very basic level so that everybody can understand.
Yeah.
So a body is known as also kosha. So the first body, as we all know, is our physical body. It is called Annamaya kosha, or the physical body. And what is it made of? Food. Because when you were born, Ali, you were little. And then you grew up with what? Nothing else but food. So this is the Annamaya kosha, or the physical body, made of basically food. Whatever we derive nutrition from the food builds our body. Muscles, bones, organs, everything. And now the second body is, we call the Pranamaya kosha, which is made of prana. And as we explained in the first podcast, prana is life force energy, which keeps you, me, everybody around, plants and animals alive. And it is there within all life forms. And we draw prana connected to our breathing. It's not the same as breath. Breath is pure oxygen. And now this prana body is made of energy, but it's like more of a gross energy. And you can call it almost a replica of our physical body. Basically a replica. So in it has all the organs that we have, but instead of spinal cord and nerves, it has something called the nadis, called the 7.2 million nadis, of which predominantly we focus on 3, the Ida, Pingala, and the Sushumna, which run through the hollow of the spinal cord. Ida being the left, right being the Pingala, and Sushumna being in the middle.
Right.
And now, each subsequent body is more powerful than the previous one. So obviously the prana body or etheric body is more powerful, lot more powerful than our physical body. And also it has all the influences that are coming from the higher bodies. And say, for example, if somebody is going to get sick physically in the physical body, the symptoms of that sickness will start appearing in the second body, in the prana body or the etheric body, a few months before. You must have seen some instances where a person says, I have pain in my heart and discomfort. He goes, sees a doctor. The doctor does an ECG, says all clear. But he goes again 2 months later, same thing. And 6 months later, he goes, and the doctor says, yes, there is a problem. So it manifests in the etheric body or the prana body a few months before. So you have time to take action to change that. Now comes the third body, which is the manomaya kosha or the astral body. This body is nothing else but call your mind body, your emotional body. It has your thoughts, your emotions that a mind has. And as we all know, these emotions, these thoughts are more powerful than the first two bodies. So when a person is feeling emotional, stressed, the breathing changes, the prana changes, and then the effect on the physical body changes. So this is your third body, the astral body. And one of the most important bodies is the fourth body. It's called the jnanamaya kosha, or also the causal body. Means the cause of everything that happens in a life begins from the fourth body. You can also call it maybe subconscious, because your fourth body or the causal body stores virtually everything that has happened in this life and every previous life that you have lived. And it has the seed of every good and bad outcomes in our life. So if a previous action that I did has to bring some karmic effect in my life, the action will always begin from the fourth body. Something will happen there, a seed will germinate. And that will start now influencing my third body or the mind body. My mind, my thoughts will change. That will change my prana body. That will have an influence in the physical body. And that outcome, what started in the fourth body, will be manifested in the physical world. So, a lot of our practices and sadhanas in Brhamanda Yoga are where we focus, meditate, enter the fourth body. And one by one, on a daily basis, we burn these karmic seeds that we are storing in the fourth body or the causal body.
Before you get to the fifth body, modern psychology is just starting to uncover the subconscious right now, like just in the last few decades.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's so much ancient wisdom in yoga that already knows so much about it. So I find that fascinating.
It is, because in the modern world, we just started to scratch the surface, as we say. So this is your fourth body. But then we have the fifth body, which is the bliss body, or we call it the Anandamaya kosha, the bliss. It has no iota of any negativity in it. It is pure bliss. And this fifth body is our connection to our soul. As we call in our yoga and scriptures explain, the soul is expressed as, a flame of light, the size of your thumb, that resides in the cavity of your heart. So that is called the Jivatma. And this bliss body, the fifth body, or the Anandamaya kosha, is my connection to my soul. So this is how you can look at these 5 different bodies and what kind of influence, in a general manner, it has upon us.
And as you're saying, each of these bodies, they get progressively, even though they're subtler, they're stronger in vibrational energy.
Yeah.
Each of them.
Yes.
Okay. And so meditation, Brhamanda Yoga meditation helps us merge these bodies together.
That is one of the basic functions, that even before we do higher meditation and stuff, we always begin with merging these 5 bodies together into one, and then connecting with the soul. And then, because now we have unified the vibrational frequency is very high at this level when you merge the 5 bodies with the soul. And then when you meditate or do anything in your life, you will have a lot more success.
That was a good explanation, and obviously we can talk about it for the whole podcast.
Absolutely.
Right. Just like you were saying about some of the other things, like, when you touch on chakras or any of these things, we can literally sit here for many days and talk about
Weeks, months.
Weeks, months, yeah. So, speaking of the 5 bodies, there's another 5 things I want to ask you about, and that's the 5 elements, right? And we're made up of 5 elements. And in yoga, if you can explain the significance of this and why it's so important for us to balance these elements, and what do they all represent in our bodies?
Okay. So, as we all know, there's a pretty much known fact that we're all made of 5 elements. But in Brhamanda Yoga, we say that it's not true. We're made of 7 elements. So, what are the 5 elements, as everybody else knows? First is your earth. Second is your water. Third is fire. Fourth is air. And fifth is sky or the space. And here also, progressively, each element signifies something and also is progressively more stronger than the other. So take, for example, the element earth. Element earth expresses solidification, no flexibility. When a earth element is predominant in someone, that person is stubborn. It's like, he says, I don't want change. I am rigid in my thoughts. That is what is expressed by earth element. And also earth element is responsible for our muscles and bones. So it affects a direct influence on the muscles and bones. And if somebody has a problem with these, you can understand that the earth element is imbalanced. Next comes the water element. Now, water element is not as stubborn as water. Not as stubborn and fixed as earth.
Right.
It can go from one place to another. It flows. So more flexibility.
Right.
And so more powerful than the earth, right?
Right.
So, because you know that even there is a big stone, right? And a stream of water continuously flows past it. It can cut into the stone in a few years.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So more powerful than the element earth. And on our organs, the element water has an influence on our kidneys and reproductive organs. They all are influenced by water element. And an imbalance in the water element will lead to an issue of kidney issues, urinary tract issues, reproductive issues. And now comes the air element. Air element we know is more powerful than water. The wind may blow gently, it's okay. But when it gathers force, it can crash the things into each other. It can blow up the trees. So more powerful. And it has an influence on our respiratory and even cardiovascular system. So an imbalance in air element is going to lead to issues affecting our cardiovascular or respiratory system. And of course, air is more flexible than water. Water can go left, right, down. It cannot go up. Air can go in any which direction. And eventually it's the fifth element is the sky or the space. It is the most powerful, the vast. And other 4 elements have to live within that space. So it controls the other 4 elements. And now anything an imbalance in this will lead to mental issues, depression, bipolar disease. So this is where it has an influence. Now these are the 5 elements as the world knows. But when a self-realized guru comes in your life and his existence comes and sits and resides within you as a blessing, and then he resides within you as the guru element. And when he comes in and he blesses you, and if he finds you worthy enough, he awakens within you the 7th element, which is the God element. So now if you look at the chakra positions, we have 7 chakras. So first chakra, the Mooladhara or the tailbone or the root chakra, that is the home for the earth element. Swadhisthana, which is forefinger widths below your navel, holds the water element. And Manipura, your navel element, holds the fire element. Anahat, your heart chakra, holds the air element. And your throat, Vishuddhi, holds the space element. And now this forehead in the third eye becomes the residence of your guru element. And when he awakens up, your Sahasrara, the God element sits here. So these are the 7 elements for, in a layman explanation, that anybody will find it easy to understand.
So Sanjeev ji, in terms of the planets and the stars, now you've mentioned this to me before, they have a certain influence on us. And from a yogic perspective, how important is this influence? What's the significance of the alignment of the planets and as well as the stars, and what kind of influence do they have on us?
So even if you see, which is expressed in this world, as we can observe, that moon, although not a planet, a satellite, but behaves like a planet in astrology and in yogic practices, we're still kind of considered as acting like a planet. The influence of the gravity of moon creates tides in our oceans. The oceans can rise up and down. So imagine if the moon has that kind of an influence on the oceans, and our bodies are made of more than 60% water. Do you think it will not have an influence on us as human beings? Effect of the water content in our bodies?
Right.
Similarly, take sun. You turn the sun off, we are dead. So the light, the heat that comes, I'm just talking about the physical, significance that is pretty much clear to us.
Right.
We can observe. And so all the planets are moving in an orbit around the sun. Sometimes they come closer, sometimes they move away from each other. And it definitely has a different kind of an impact in our lives. So we will kind of go in detail in maybe, the future questions, or we can do a separate topic on this, which is kind of more kind of astrology or like the influence of planets on us. So we can discuss that.
So we'll talk about the planets on a different podcast. But if you could maybe touch, maybe just for our viewers, on the influence that the sun has on us. Maybe not too much go into depth, but just a little bit of specifics on that.
Okay, like you must have heard in some astrologers telling you in your horoscopes that sun is not strong enough in your horoscope, moon is not strong enough in your horoscope, Mars is too heavy for you. What does it mean? The sun is not shining for me? Or moon doesn't come up for me? It's not. They are emitting their energies at all times. It is my ability to receive those energies from the planets can change. So take the example. the influence of sun on our lives. That if I have not the ability to receive enough energy from the sun, it'll influence my relationship with my father. So this is the kind of, and if it was the moon, it would have an influence on my relationship with my mother. So now we have different relationships, we have different things we are doing. And all these planets have an influence on these aspects of our life. So if I have lesser ability to absorb energies of these different planets, it'll have a direct influence on my life in different aspects.
And when you say energies, would it mean the gravitational pull of these planets specifically, or is it even deeper than that?
No, it's more deeper than it's not just the gravity. Because, we know that everything is vibrations. All planets are vibrating. So their vibrational frequencies are always emitting these wavelengths, these energies, which are received by us. We cannot feel them, we cannot see them, but it has a huge impact on our lives.
Yeah, they're very much there.
Yeah.
You just can't be right. That leads me to my next question. So, in terms of horoscopes, are horoscopes in any way, are they legitimate? And if so, are they set in stone for us, or are they changeable?
So let me explain this, the science of astrology and horoscopes is very, very ancient in India. And it studied the same, how planets are aligned to each other in your horoscope and what kind of influence or what kind of events it'll create in your life, right? So, and the good astrologer who has studied a lot, it'll make a horoscope for you and tell you what is going to happen to you. But how does it come into play? It comes into play that all these planets are aligned in your horoscope in a certain manner based upon your previous life's karmas, right? So my previous life karma is going to have an influence on my life to have such and such events so that I can learn a lesson from each event and move forward and grow. And if I do not change my life, I live my life the way I'm living, then the way the planets are aligned, the way your horoscope is telling you, it is going to come into play. But is it set in stone? No. Because you can change your karma now and influence the effect of past karma in your present and your future. So if we understand the science of Brhamanda Yoga, we say that no matter how your planets are aligned, because you cannot go into the past and change your past karma, but the present is in your hands. So you do your sadhana. You change your life the way you're leading. You change your relationships. And you can alter the course as set in the horoscope for you in your life.
That's much different than, let's say, karma yogis, who just kind of, that they succumb to the karma. Is that a good word to say? Is that kind of like they just go with what's, oh, this is my karma, I have to go through it?
No, karma yogis are not that.
Okay.
Karma yogis are that instead of kind of focusing on other aspects, they are focused only on their karma. So they will understand what is the right karma, what is the dharma, and then they will try to follow that karma. It's not a wrong path, I'm saying, but they try to get more wisdom around your acts of karma and how you are doing your karma, how you are leading your life on a daily basis, what are your thoughts, which are coming in here, because thoughts are just as a part of a karma as your physical action. So, karma yogis are focused on that. And if they follow their karma properly, then they can also have, knowingly or unknowingly, alter the events of your, mentioned in your horoscope.
So this is a question I have that even though this word is very much widely known, we see this word everywhere. Om. Can you explain the significance of the word Om?
So it's not a word, like it's a sound.
Right.
And if you want to know like what Om is everything. Om is the ultimate. You can also say Om is that. You can say Om is God. And it is the vibrational frequency. It is the vibrational frequency of Shiva or God himself. And Om is made of 3 sounds. A, U, M. But we never say Aum. We still pronounce A and U together as Om.
Why
So,
is that?
because this is how it should be pronounced. And this is the sound of the universe also. When you go into the higher states of meditation, it's also known as the Anahat Nad. So if you go into that higher state, you will find that it is only the sound of Om going on in the entire universe. It goes on as Om. Endlessly it goes on. Om. So this Om sound is eternal, endless, sound of the universe. And if you chant it, that's why it's recommended to chant Om as much as possible. And when you do it, the vibrations have a huge impact on all your systems. So it is very calming, very peaceful, very soothing if you chant it properly.
Okay, that's a great explanation of Om. And especially having the fact that I'm chanting it every day. It's really good to just, because sometimes we can hear the same explanation, and you get you get new knowledge from it.
Yeah.
Like that's the best. That's one of the greatest thing about yoga, personally for me. Now, in terms of, we've talked about this before, and I wanted you to kind of touch on it for the audience as well. Albert Einstein, he has this theory of E equals mc squared, this famous formula. And my question to you is, from a yogic standpoint, how does this apply to Brhamanda Yoga and our practice?
It's very simple there. In fact, the principles of Brhamanda Yoga and Einstein's principle are more or less the same. Like energy and mass interchangeable. Right? And in Brhamanda Yoga, I would say that vibrations produce energy and energy produces physical reality. Now, where do these vibrations come from? These vibrations are coming from, as we explained in this podcast earlier, they begin from your 4th body, that stored karmic beliefs, and then your thoughts in the 3rd body. Thoughts are vibrations, and that will influence, create an energy within my other bodies, and it will express in physical reality, whether it's a disease in the body or another event in the body, or another event outside around me. So, very much the same. And that's why a lot of people are working on changing the physical reality only. But then if my vibrations are wrong, my energy produced is wrong, I can keep on working on the physical reality, but that physical reality will keep on recurring, the wrong physical reality will keep on recurring even if I keep changing it. And unless and until I change the source, the vibrations, and vibrations will change the energy, And that will change the physical reality to what I want.
So my next question for you is kind of different than what I usually ask, and it's actually has to do with aliens. Okay, my question to you is, what do our yogic teaching, what does Brhamanda Yoga say about the potential existence of aliens, and are we humans the only intelligent species in the universe? What are your thoughts on this?
So there is one question I will ask you now, but then from our sessions in so many years, we'll ask all the time, what is it that you want? So in mythical stories and also mentioned in scriptures, there is a mythical tree. And it's said that if somebody sits under it, all his wishes are fulfilled. So there is a mythical story also to explain. In ancient times in India, there was a man who was traveling, walking, and he was going through a forest. And he lost his way. Now he was walking and walking, not knowing where he was heading. He ran out of food, ran out of water, exhausted. And he couldn't walk any further, say, I should rest for some time. And he sat under a tree, not knowing that this is that mythical tree which, if you sit under, your wishes will be fulfilled. And after he rested, he was so hungry that he started thinking about food. Oh, I wish I could eat this. I wish I could have this. And magically, lo and behold, all that food that he wished for appeared in front of him. He did not even think how. He just was so hungry that he ate, and ate and ate. When he kind of could not eat anymore, he realized now he's very thirsty. So he thought of his favorite cool, refreshing drinks that he liked. And lo and behold, they appeared in front of him. And he drank to the heart's content. And now, being tired, stomach full, he felt a little drowsy. He said, I'm just going to rest for a bit. When his body relaxed, his mind relaxed, that's when it occurred to him, where did this food and these drinks came from? So he started to set up. And he thought, is there a ghost around me? And a ghost appeared in the distance. He says, is this ghost dangerous? And the ghost came closer and he appeared very dangerous. And now I think, oh my God, what if he eats me? And the ghost ate him up.
Oh my God.
So you can create what you want with your mind. You want to create aliens? Focus on it. Create aliens. But my question is, does it impact your life or my life? Whether the aliens are there or not. I don't even know. Most people don't even know when their kids leave and go to the school what they're doing. And we worry about aliens. So, if it directly impacts your life, sure, focus and find out about it. But we also know the siddhas, the self-realized beings, they're far beyond their physical reality. They can leave their bodies, do astral travel, come back, create a new body, whatever they want, they can do. Now, if you want to call those siddhas as aliens, sure. And nowadays you think that they come from other galaxies or planets. But these siddhas have the ability to do the intergalactic travel or anywhere. They are one with the infinite. So, it is just how you look at it as aliens. That could be your answer.
And really, sometimes, I feel like the reason we have these questions, of course, it won't, unless they come here for an invade our planet, it's not going to have an influence on us like that, like impact. But I think it's just kind of like the scale of the universe, how large everything is. The fact that the Milky Way itself probably has 100 billion stars or so, maybe more, probably more. That there's supposedly, according to the Drake equation, 86 million Earth-like planets just in our Milky Way alone. You know, so it's just fascinating. But at the same time, you make a very strong point when you say, "How is it impacting us?"
So if you look at look everywhere in our Brhamanda Yoga and our scriptures, and also the universe is infinite. What do we mean by infinite? Means that it has no beginning, no end. We are trying to know the infinite through finite means. How is it possible? Is it possible, Ali, to pour an ocean into a bucket? It's impossible. So yes, we are making, progress. We feel that we are making progress. We are knowing more and more about the universe. But where are we knowing it? In our mind. My mind, at a present state, has a finite ability. And now I'm trying to pour the infinite ocean into a finite bucket of my mind. It's not going to happen. The only way to know the infinite is that you become infinite and become one with the infinite. Because there cannot be two infinites. This infinite universe, Ali becomes infinite, then it just goes against the definition of infinite. But when you expand to a state of infinity, you have to merge with the infinite. You have to let go of that finite definition of Ali that you have. Let go of that and merge with the infinite. And that's what we call as a state of self-realization. Take the example, a lump of salt. Where did it come from? From the ocean. Right now it is separate from the ocean. It can try to know the ocean, will never know it. You throw that lump of salt back into the ocean, what happens? It dissolves. Now, can you identify which part of the ocean is the lump of salt anymore? There's nothing. It has become the ocean again. It is still there inside it, but not as a lump of salt that defined, definition of, of particular shape, size, weight. It's all gone. So to become infinite, you have to dissolve. You have to merge with the infinite to know the infinite. And that is what we do in Brhamanda Yoga or ancient practices. And it's called self-realization.
That actually puts me at ease a lot, to be honest with you, because it makes me feel like, okay, yeah, you have these, huge questions and whatnot, but then to be able to fathom things at that scale, it could almost be like a waste of time based on our state, is basically what you're saying, right? Because what are you trying to fathom the ocean for when you just realize you're a drop, right? And the other question I had, and this is going to apply to a lot of people out there, how can the practice of Brhamanda Yoga specifically enhance medical treatment for chronic illnesses in people? Not just physical, but also mental.
Great question, Ari, this one. Let me first make it very clear the position of Brhamanda Yoga. Like there are a lot of people who say, oh, modern medicine is bad. Some people say, oh, the ancient practices are bad. We don't care about them. We, on the other hand, never call anything bad. Nothing is a replacement for the other. And we say that if you combine the modern treatment that your doctor is recommending you, take it. And add this component of yoga to it, it will enhance the treatments. And our medical sciences admitting already that more than 50 to 60% of the diseases are psychosomatic, right? But we say that almost 100% of sicknesses are psychosomatic. The beginning is again the fourth body, the Jnanamaya Kosha. And with these practices, if I can reduce that input that the fourth body is putting in your third and the second and the first body, And if I can alter that, influence that, would it not automatically help enhance the medical treatment that you are getting? So it's a combination of both. And we have seen in my practice, and you've seen too, that so many people I've worked with, when they've combined this modality with the treatment they are taking, so many changes have happened.
One of the questions that I had, and this is sort of, I know I've been asking a lot of technical questions, but one of the questions that I had actually is, when we're little, a lot of us were like, oh, I can't wait to grow up. I can't wait to be older so I can do this, I can do that. And then I noticed that as we get older, we're like, I wish I was little again, right? And I wanted you to kind of further elaborate on that in terms of how important is it to retain your childlike nature? And why is it that we yearn for this as we grow older?
Because, again, a great question, because as we grow older from a childhood, we keep on adding more and more negativities through different negative events that happen in our life. We acquire new belief systems, which are mostly predominantly negative. So life starts becoming more complicated, burdensome, painful. Whereas these qualities do not exist in a child. But at some point of time, a lot of people have heard when they grow up, oh, it's good to become like a child. And they start acting silly like a child. So there is a difference between being like a child and being childish. So don't be childish. Don't act silly. What does childlike means? Childlike means simplicity, purity. You see two children fighting. 5 minutes later, they've forgotten even they were fighting or why they were fighting. Do you think when you grow up, you're able to do that? Somebody you're close to you says something bad to you or punches you, you will not forgive him for the next 20 years or maybe the rest of the life.
Yeah, we will start holding grudges.
Yeah. And these kids, they could be pulling their hair, each other's hair. 5 minutes later, they don't even remember that. And now another example is very simple. A child needs an ice cream. He will not create any stories. He will go to the mother or the father and say, I want an ice cream. And when we grow up, we make it complicated. We'll say, you know what? I have been behaving well for the last 1 week or 2 weeks. I have not eaten any extra sugar. I have eaten healthy food. Can I get an ice cream today? Come on, be like a child. Say, I want an ice cream today. Drop your stories. That is what is becoming like a child instead of becoming childish. Become simple, become pure, become clean. And this can happen only and only by dropping the stories, by dropping all my negative belief systems. And that can happen only and only through the practices of Brhamanda Yoga, the sadhana of Brhamanda Yoga.
So that really interests me a lot because you always mention that we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. And just like the universe, how scientists have discovered that it continues to expand, in fact, faster than the speed of light, we are just like the universe in this constant expansion mode. So that really relates to one another, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Like another way you can say that this whole universe is like a holograph. You know what a holograph is? That if any object is not a holograph, if I take a piece out of it, it'll leave an empty space here and it'll be incomplete without this piece, and the piece will be incomplete without the main object. Whereas the hologram is a different thing. Hologram is if I take a small piece out of an object which is a hologram, that would still remain complete, and this small piece would be a replica of the piece where it came from. And if I take another piece from here, it is a replica of both. So if this universe is a hologram, I'm a part of it. So instead of trying to know the whole universe, if only I try to know myself, and that's what we do in Brhamanda Yoga and other ancient practices, just focus, I go inside. Instead of going outside to know the universe, I go inside to know myself. And if I know myself completely, I know the universe.
And once somebody has reached this stage of self-realization where they know the universe, and they know themselves, this state, does it mean that they no longer have this need for expansion, or does a self-realized person still have the desire to expand?
Great question. Does the infinite have the desire to become more than infinite? And if it does, where can it go? Infinite is already everywhere. You can grow only if there was a space. When you are infinite, where are you going to grow? So there is that. So that force that I said, innate desire, that force which is making me to go and expand, pushing me. Once you reach that state, you become infinite, then there is no force acting upon you. You are at peace. That's what I said, it's the bliss.
And in that state of bliss, we no longer have desires, or do desires no longer influence us like that?
Yeah, it is a different state, right? So you would still be doing if you ask like a siddha, right? What happens after self-realization? Nothing. I mean, apparently for anybody else, that person is leading the life the same way. He says, I said that like, when I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm sleepy, I sleep. Yes, but it has no influence. Like, look at a lotus flower. It becomes like a lotus flower. It grows in muddy water. But no matter how much muddy water you throw, splash on it, not a drop stays on it. It's clean. It stays in this dirty world, but it stays absolutely pure and clean in a state of bliss.
If you can touch on this real quick, is self-realization a permanent state, or is it possible to fall from that state?
There is nothing permanent in this universe. I'll even discuss this. The only thing permanent in this universe is change. Once you reach that state, that's why a lot of siddhas, when they do, they don't want to live in this body anymore because it becomes painful. And then above siddhas, there are arihantas, like Buddha, like my guru. They stay in this world to help others. So is that state permanent? No, because when they're interacting with negativity, they come down. But then they meditate and go back again. They come down. So it's a up and down process for them, very painful for them. But for the sake of humanity, for the sake of good of this world, they go through this. And we should be very grateful to them for doing this.
Is there really a heaven or a hell?
Is there a heaven or a hell? I mean, there are different definitions in different faiths and everything. And they try to describe that. And I have nothing against it, right? But again, it's again your choice. What do you want to believe in? Like many people will say, live a very pure life here, right? Don't drink alcohol. Don't womanize. Don't kind of do anything wrong or eat like that spicy or fried food. And then they say when you die, you'll go to heaven where the mind flows freely and a lot of beautiful women and all that fried food that you wanted. So you live the life of hell when you're alive, and you get a heaven which is kind of forbidden to you when you're alive. So it doesn't make sense. It is not heaven and hell. Doesn't exist anywhere but within you. You can create a hell within you whenever you want, as a human being having a choice. Or you can create a heaven within you whenever you want. Why do you need to go anywhere? Heaven and hell, as described, exist within you at all times. You choose what you want to create within yourself, and you will.
So from a yogic standpoint, if we do really well in this life and we do a lot of good, can we also say that our next life can be the heaven? Like how we have to, because eventually the main goal is to reach self-realization and merge with the infinite in one of these lives that we're living, right? We need to build. So if I do a lot of bad karma in this life, for instance, and then let's say my next life can be a sort of kind of called hell, is that a way we can look at it?
So that's what I said. If you want to put a label on it, of heaven and hell, you can do that. But your outcome of your karma is going to be according to what you've done, right? So if you want to label a person who's having a lot of bad events in the life based upon the karma, past karma, is living a life in hell, so be it. Or a person who's peaceful, happy, has good things around him, is living in a life in heaven, you can call it that. But again, when you get caught in these labels, your desire to grow above heaven and hell, because again, heaven and hell, sad and happy, these are of lower energies. Bliss is which doesn't have an equal opposite. Day has night, black has white, happiness has sadness. There's only one thing that is bliss, which doesn't have an opposite. And that is the state of bliss, is the self-realization. So we rise above these heaven and hell debates. You can debate till the cows come home, but will it help you become a better human being or not? Our focus is to become a better human being and not waste our time on these issues.
Makes a lot of sense. So now with the technological advances and AI being something so prevalent, personally as a YouTuber myself, I've noticed that, I have been guilty of being a little bit creatively lazy sometimes because I'm like, oh, ChatGPT can take care of this. Now, my question is, how long before something like this ends up becoming detrimental to our own individual creative abilities? And is it possible that AI could eventually just replace who we are and what we do as humans? And could it become more powerful than us at some point?
So Ali, this is a great question because everybody wants to know about it, right? So we know AI is artificial intelligence. You're trying to make this computer more intelligent, to make decisions on our behalf. And definitely, as we see it, many people are becoming lazy. Many people are worried about losing their jobs because it'll take over a lot of usual jobs that human beings do, and artificial intelligence will be able to do it much better. But remember, this is AI, not AC. Artificial intelligence is not artificial consciousness. So, will artificial intelligence one day lead up to artificial consciousness? We don't know. We don't have the answer. But in our Brhamanda Yoga and all our ancient practices, our work is more on consciousness. Intelligence you can gain, and computer can take over your work. Consciousness for now and for a very long time to come is not going to happen. So we work on our consciousness, raising our consciousness, purifying ourselves, and being alert to what is the need. Because a lot of people, as say, they are so stubborn, rigid, right? Not willing to change. So a person goes, takes an education, and then the rest of the life, he uses that intelligence that he has gained to earn money for the rest of his life. There are some who will, midway through their career, drop that career for whatever reasons, pick up a brand new one, and it's considered like a big thing to do. With this coming now times, we have to train our youth to be more adaptive. What a human being used to do once in a lifetime, a career change, the new generation may have to do it several times and keep doing it. So if we make them resilient, make them more flexible, have a better consciousness, better awareness, and whatever the needs come along, they adapt themselves, they change themselves, and keep learning, keep evolving, and changing with the time, because there is only one thing permanent in this universe, and that is change. And if we make our youth more adaptable, and they embrace it, for most people, even the change when they take it, it is like not with embracing. It is like, okay, I have to do it. But when you have to do it several times, you have to fall in love with it. So once you do it, then how can artificial intelligence have an impact? Because whatever challenge it'll throw in your way, you're ready to adopt and change and overcome that challenge and be successful. Thank you, Ali. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And if you really like this podcast, please make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And to watch our other podcasts, please click here. So if you have any questions regarding the topics we discussed in this podcast today, please leave a comment below, and we'll be more than happy to respond to your comments and answer your questions.